You damn right. Welcome to March, first day on a Wednesday for this month. Hope you're having a good one. A lot of Longhorn stuff on the board today. Baseball loses to LSU. Basketball getting ready for TCU. And if they want a part of that Big 12 title in the regular season, they have got to get the win tonight. Coming up at 12:30, Isaiah's got your full breakdown in the Right Call segment for Texas and TCU. We got some football stuff to get into. We'll hit that baseball game a little bit, but there's some disturbing news coming out around the NFL as we get ready for Combine Week and ultimately the NFL Draft. Chad and Zay on this Wednesday. I'm Chad Hastings, joined once again by Isaiah Collier. What's up, Zay?
What the hell is wrong with these SEC athletes that are going to get drafted high and putting their just careers in jeopardy as of late?
Man. They have racetracks, right? Like they have places
Yeah,
you can
they have
go
places you could go
to drive fast.
Absolutely.
If you want to drive fast.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. We will definitely get into that story as we get, further and further into Combine Week. We got some notes for you around the Combine as we get ready. Some good notes, some positive notes around Bijan Robinson. Some thoughts from DeMarvion Overshown, because he's going to get asked about position discussions and is it safety, is it linebacker? We're going to get into all that. If you missed it last night, Longhorn baseball loses a heartbreaker to LSU. It was a scoreless battle for the entire ball game into the ninth inning. Longhorns got a good performance out of LeBaron Johnson. That is definitely something to build on there. 5 innings, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts, but it was 92 pitches, so maybe they got him up into that pitch area where they didn't feel like they could obviously leave him in any longer. If the Longhorns had found some runs during that time period, Zay, we'd be coming in here talking about LeBaron Johnson, but the Longhorns just couldn't find the bats last night when they needed it.
Yeah, LeBaron was terrific. 9 Ks. He faced 20 batters, and like you said, the 92 pitches. Might have got a little fatigued there, but he's a long, lanky thing on there on the hump. And, for moving forward with this Texas baseball team and so many questions still, we saw what happened, when the Horns went to Arlington, now coming back facing the number 1 team in the country and playing them like that with LeBaron on the mound. You don't want any moral victories, but you can feel okay about the loss.
Mm-hmm.
It's just on the 9th inning, that's tough.
Yeah, no, Texas baseball fans, they know who they are, they know who their program is. There's no moral victories.
Yeah.
We understand that, but certainly a hell of a fight with LSU for a lot of that game. Give up the homer in the 9th after a couple of walks. That ends up being the difference. So LSU wins that game. If you were out at the Dish and you have any comments, let us know. Specs text line is 337-3776. The way their schedule works, if I'm reading it correctly, I believe it's right. So this is 3 at Cal State Fullerton this weekend, and then they return home for 14 in a row at the Dish. Then they go to College Station to play that one game with A&M, and then the rest of the schedule happens.
Got to take care of business at home.
So this is a big, big series this weekend to get a true road environment with Cal State Fullerton. That'll give you a great road test before you hit conference play. So that's coming later in the week for the baseball team. And as we mentioned, there's football angles on a lot of things today. Coming up at 1 and 2 o'clock, our normal Wednesday guests, Justin Wells, Inside Texas at 1:05, Chip Brown, Horns247.com at 2:05, talking Combine and the Longhorns that are involved, talking Longhorn basketball, baseball, and all the rest. And, of course, we are only 5 days away from Texas spring practice getting started. Also, special guest in our flex segment today, Isaiah was able to get us the victorious head coach from last night's big game with Stony Point and Buda Johnson. Stony Point got it done. So we're going to talk to Antoine Thompson coming up at 1:30 in the flex segment. Zay, his Tigers are moving on to the next round.
So impressive. I mean, this was for basically the 6A title in the Central Texas area, and to win by 19 the way that they did. Buda Johnson, they're a good ball club. Ben Kennison, he did a great job this year. They got about 3 guys they're going to make first team all 26-6A. They got guys probably going to make second team all 26-6A. And they put it on them last night. Those Tigers from Josiah Mosley, Uriah Button was amazing. Oof. And, man, I was so impressed sitting there with Roger Wallace. And that type of atmosphere, it was packed up in there at the Burger Center. Again, it looks like a stage that you're on because, you're so – everybody's just looking right down upon you. So that third-round game and to have Coach Thompson's players play the way they did, very impressive. And they look like they could go to the Alamo Dome.
No doubt. That's a really impressive performance there. So we'll talk a little high school basketball. I also got out to a high school basketball game that was in my neck of the woods. Talk about that coming up in the crap bag. In fact, I'm going to tell you where the real story was in this game. It wasn't the game. It was halftime.
Oh, yeah?
Halftime was the real entertainment. I'll tell you what happened. That's coming up at 12:45. So we got all that going on, but we also have, and as I said, we'll get you a full breakdown of Texas and TCU. Zay will get the right call segment for you. But unfortunately, we are leading into another NFL draft where we have a story that we'd rather not tell you about one of the top prospects. In fact, if you made it all equal across the NFL draft, I think the experts would tell you that the number one rated prospect for a lot of folks is Georgia's Jalen Carter. And in some mock drafts, you're seeing him going right at the top. If the Bears just stick with one and don't work on any trades, that they will just go ahead and pick Jalen Carter. Maybe you got Will Anderson from Alabama in the discussion, but I see Jalen at the top of a lot of this stuff. And Zay, you're the one that let me know about this today. It links back to a story we've already talked about with Georgia, but now Jalen Carter ends up involved and near that story that killed another player and staff member right around the title game.
Yeah, it's a really crappy looking situation. Apparently, when all that happened, where the female trainer and the current football player on Georgia, where they passed away like a couple of days, was it a couple of days or maybe a day right after they won the national championship around the time of the parade?
I think it was the day of the parade. So the game's Monday night. This is either like early Tuesday or Wednesday morning, something like that.
Right. Yeah. So there's a report that came out, says as a result of the ongoing investigation into the January 15th, 2023 fatal crash occurred on 900 block of Barnett Scholes Road, the Athens-Clarke County Police Department has secured arrest warrants, for Jalen Carter, 21, for reckless driving and racing. The investigation found Chandler LaCoy, which that's the woman that was involved, driving a 2021 Ford Expedition and Jalen Carter driving a 2021 Jeep Trackhawk. Were operating the vehicles in a manner consistent with racing shortly after leaving the downtown Athens area at 2:30 a.m. The evidence demonstrated that both vehicles switched between lanes, drove in the center turn lane, drove in opposite lanes of travel, overtook other motorists, and drove at a high rate speed in an apparent attempt to outdistance each other. Evidence indicated that shortly before the crash, the Expedition was traveling at 104 miles per hour.
Oh, good God. I remember thinking when I first heard this story about why are you going that fast in a vehicle that big? But now we're talking about racing in a vehicle that fast?
Yeah.
Racing in big SUVs?
When LaCoy crashed, they checked her blood alcohol level, 0.197.
Yeah, more than twice the limit.
Twice the limit. So,
and this is a vehicle that was, did you say this is a vehicle rented by Georgia?
Yes. This is one of University of Georgia's vehicles. So at the time of the crash, investigators determined that the alcohol impairment, racing, reckless driving, and speed were significant contributing factors to the crash. The case will be given to the general office.
What was that? A big word you didn't?
Yeah, I just wasn't even.
Was that a big word you didn't want to pronounce?
I wasn't even gonna get into that. I wasn't even gonna botch that.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that is man, that is just awful. So he's been charged with reckless driving and racing, as you mentioned, and I'm reading these are both misdemeanors in Georgia. The speed obviously factors in, the alcohol factors in. I am reading, Zay, that Carter showed no signs of alcohol. He's not a part of the discussion, I think, when it comes to alcohol. Also, maybe this helps him out a little bit that initially he did leave the scene, but he came back. He told police at first he just heard the crash, but later he did admit to them that he was driving alongside and near that car. So eventually he ends up admitting to police that he was a part of this, because that was my first question today. Well, how do they know that Jalen Carter was involved, and why wouldn't they have known before today?
But
they reported it as a single vehicle incident when it happened.
Yeah.
So now I don't know ultimately, like, does that help his case here in terms of just trying to own up to what he did?
I don't think it helps his case very much.
Okay.
Because what happens, like, they're racing, right? So did he win? Like, he knows that they're gone. Like, you see when you're racing somebody, if they just vanish.
Yeah, did he see him crash?
Did he see them crash?
That's the question.
Did he hear it? And if he did see/hear the crash, why didn't he go back and check? Like, that should be a first human reaction, unless if you know you're doing something highly illegal.
Right.
Which that's what he's doing.
Does he? Yeah.
Plus, he knows his status, too.
Yeah, is his initial gut to flee to protect himself?
Yeah.
To protect what is coming, what is supposedly coming this week and in April and further ahead, obviously, in an NFL career. So they've got to look at all of that stuff. And, yeah, it was January 15th. So this story says it was hours before they celebrated with a parade and ceremony at Sanford Stadium. This is the Sunday after the title game. Title game was like the 9th of January. This is the 15th.
Okay.
So it's the end of that next week. So they're obviously, they're on top of the world, one of the best days of all their lives. And this is how they were, this is how they were dealing with it. Not just in a car driving fast, but you're racing each other and they're talking about switching in, swerving lanes and all that stuff.
Like 104?
104 in a big SUV, in an Expedition.
It's hard to slow that thing down.
Yeah, it's right. And then also big stuff like the people that drive SUVs could tell you, I don't drive SUVs that big. I don't drive a ton of them. My wife's got a bigger SUV. But like when you're in a big SUV like that and you're turning sharply and you're trying to weave in and out, the balance is different than if you're in a low profile car that's designed to do it. Not that they're not thinking about all of that at this point. So just something to keep your eye on as we go through this week and into, maybe draft discussions.
You know what that means, Chad?
What?
Cowboys getting Jalen Carter at 26.
Oh, jeez. This now becomes a Jerry guy? Is that what you're saying?
He's definitely a Jerry guy.
Well, let's see how far. We've had plenty of stories through the years of, a big-time guy that'll fall in a draft. The two that always pop in my head are Laramie Tunsil with the pot gas mask and Warren Sapp, which was Warren's was like a reported failed pot test something.
Oh, yeah. He's a huge pothead.
That didn't actually it wasn't actually real at the time.
Well, they just knew,
whatever it was. So, and he slipped a little bit, in the draft.
What a steal.
Yeah, they both ended up being big steals in the draft.
Yeah.
So now, what does this do to Jalen Carter? And beyond this, is there any evidence that there was something else? Obviously, there's not going to be evidence that he was trying to hurt these people. The only you got misdemeanor charges of the reckless driving and things like that, and then you possibly could have fleeing the scene of a crash.
Yeah.
If you knew, like you said, if he had heard something for sure, if he knew for sure and saw it, and somehow you could prove that he saw it or he would admit to you, yeah, I saw it, I freaked out, but I did come back. I came back, but then they could say, well, like, hey, man, both these people are dead.
Yeah.
What if you come back in 5 minutes instead of 2 hours? Does that bring with it some sort of negligence and another charge for him that, an NFL team?
Well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he goes past them. They get caught at a red light. He feels like he wins. He goes off to wherever he goes off to. You're not going to call him or text him, be like, I smoked you guys, or,
right.
Y'all can't see me out here. I'm like Vin Diesel or something. Just, just what?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you contact them after they I guess vanish?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of adrenaline going on. You're in Georgia. Maybe like maybe I don't know where it is.
And he's sober. He's sober. So
right.
I don't get how these things aren't. I've never raced anybody.
I haven't either. But I mean, could he think let's say once he's won the race and he hasn't seen a wreck, like you said, does he go grab something to eat and text him burned y'all pretty good. Get home safe or something like that. I'll see you I'll see y'all at the parade.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab a bite if y'all want to come over to whatever's, wherever he is. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And then is it possible that he did that and then just chills out and then somebody else contacts him?
Yeah.
And says, hey, dude, did you hear that they crashed? Oh, my God. And then he heads over. I don't know.
And who knows? Like, I'm just speculating here. Like, he could have not texted them because he knows that, okay, there was a guy on the gale in the car. Maybe they're going back. It's 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. Who knows what they're going back to do? I'm going to let them be.
Maybe.
But we had our fun because we all know each other. And again, like you said, that adrenaline, we're riding high. We just went back-to-back national championships and stuff. Like, everybody's having a good time. But this is a serious story. Like, it ain't nothing like Warren Sapp or Laramie Tunsil.
No.
It's nothing like that.
You're right.
And this alters the whole NFL. This guy's supposed to be number one.
Yeah, because you're talking about two people die in the incident. It's not just a car. You wish it had been just a car wreck, causing a car wreck. Or it had just been something like the Denver Harris story from A&M. Was it bad? Yeah. Was it reckless? Oh, yeah. But nobody got hurt.
Right.
Nobody did. And if they had, then that story cranks up to another level. Like you said, we're talking about the biggest prospect in the draft to a lot of people. And by the way, in respect to those other two guys, Sapp wasn't that, and Tunsil wasn't that.
For sure.
They weren't the guy, the number one guy where you say, well, what if the Bears just took the best guy possible? Kuiper and all these dudes would go, it's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Georgia play? That dude. Take him. So now they've got to work through all these things.
Man.
He'd already said he wasn't going to work out at the combine. So now the question is, I guess, the next thing will be, does Jalen Carter show up in Indianapolis and face the music 32 times?
He was supposed to talk already, and he didn't do that. So I think he has to go back to Georgia and deal with his warrant.
I guess that's true. If technically now he has been charged.
Wanted man, milk box.
It issued an arrest warrant, and that would have been today. And then they've got to figure out what comes next. I'd have to look at the schedule. Now, defensive linemen, their workouts are tomorrow, but I believe, let's see. They do the workouts tomorrow. I'm not sure when their interviews would have started. They may already be into that process. So that'll be affected a little bit. Draft boards will be affected here, obviously. The most important thing, those two lives that are lost. And we already knew about those two young people, unfortunately. Just a horrific story. The young woman that died was 24 years old. And I believe you said that player was 21. I think is that right? That offensive lineman, Devin Willock, were the ones that were killed. And I actually don't see Willock's age here, but in his early 20s. Obviously, he was a member of the team.
Yeah, if you're Will Anderson right now, like, you're looking for places to stay in the city of Chicago. It's basically a done deal with that. At this point, if you're Chicago Bears, then if you're keeping Justin Fields, then you want to roll with that and see what happens, don't even stress it. Like, Will Anderson, he's the guy. Now, that just makes it an easier pick because who knows, Jalen Carter might have the better career, but we don't know what's going to happen from this situation. And the Bears, they don't want to take that on if I were them.
Yeah, so the ideas that you've seen thrown out there are if a Houston or an Indianapolis wants to go up to ensure that they get Bryce Young, then that could happen early on. And I'm looking at a mock here. There's actually Kuiper's latest mock has Will Anderson 3 to Arizona, and then and Chicago still going Jalen Carter at 4. That's before all this, though.
Oh.
That's before all this stuff. So then I guess that would be the question. Do they believe they could get past this to such a degree that even if Will Anderson went before Carter, that he's the obvious next guy? Is he still the obvious next dude even if Anderson goes first, or would that change? Because, again, you've got to go through all of this. You go through all these details. Is this enough for you to say you can't wear our colors? You can't wear our helmet? Is it that serious?
Yeah, and we'll see.
Right? Because he didn't kill these people.
No.
He was involved in something really, really dangerous. And, he went, it's a daredevil move, and it's not advisable, but it is also, he's looking at misdemeanor charges, and to some degree, he's facing the music there. I don't think he's running from the arrest warrant today. And at some point, his lawyer or whoever will argue, hey, my guy eventually admitted where he was. I get it that he fled the scene. And that's the thing. Once they explain that, As long as they can explain that in a reasonable way, like we're talking about. Look, he didn't realize they wrecked right away. Once he realized they had wrecked, he went back to the scene. He was not right there when whatever his story's going to be.
For sure. And I get all that, but we're saying on March 1st, Chad, it happened January 15th. That's a hot minute ago.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago to just be working out and get ready for the combine while these two people are dead and you know more to the story. Like, that doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah. But to be fair, he on January 15th, if I'm reading it correctly, he went back like hours after it happened, not days, hours. Talked to the cops,
right?
Told them he heard the crash, and then he said he heard it from another location. But then eventually he admitted, no, all right, I was driving next to him. At one point, I was driving next to him.
So what's this all coming up now for? Like, why is this coming up now and didn't it come up January 18th, a couple of days later?
Well, I mean, if you want the actual answer, I don't know if I can give it to you. Do you want the conspiracy theorist idea?
Yeah, throw them to me.
Where'd Will Anderson go to college?
Bama.
Oh.
Stop, man. Stop.
Okay.
Stop. It's not that crooked.
Because here's what I need you to understand, Zay, about this conference you're about to enter. All right? In this conference you're about to be a part of, in football specifically, there are armies of boosters, fans, crazed boosters, and crazed fans. And they have, allegedly, made phone calls, put things on social media, and done a lot of stuff to make other schools in the conference look dumb. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yo, that's fair.
By the way, the people that love Ole Miss are nodding right now about that Laramie Tunsil story. That was the story back then.
Yeah.
Hey, how'd that Laramie Tunsil video get out and whatever? There are people that would tell you it can all be traced back to somebody wearing crimson. That's what they would tell you. That it was Bama that leaked it because they were mad about something else. It's all about recruiting, coaching stories, recruiting violations. We're going to tell on you. If you tell on us, we're telling on you. We're telling on them. We're going to make sure everything's straight. So
I would love to go to somebody else's house, see Sarkeesian, somebody say, "Oh, you want to go to Georgia? They got criminals over there."
Right. That's the conspiracy answer. But the ultimate answer is I do not know. But those folks that would kind of live in that world would ask the question about, do you think this is a coincidence we're finding out as the combine starts? Do you think that's a coincidence? There are those that would tell you it's not. So I don't know how that ends up happening, but yeah, that it is an interesting thing to bring up. If he did clear everything with the cops, why is it now? That'd be the question for the cops too.
Yeah.
Okay, if he told you what his part in this was on February the 15th, why would March 1st be the day that you decide he needs to get arrested? Why wouldn't you? He was right there. You were talking to him.
Like, again, knowing that the combine's coming about, knowing that he has this week.
Man.
Like, I know he's a brother, but we're just going to let him live good on Black History Month?
Wait, here we go, Zay. Lead detective went to Florida. No, that's not it. No, I'm sorry. No, that's not it. It's not everything. It's not everything. It's just stuff SEC fans talk about. You see how it's already infected me? I'm only like a decade in.
Yeah.
It's infecting me every time I hear a story like this. That's what I think of.
Because who knows what Georgia people have been saying about the Brandon Miller situation and what they think about it. Like, look what's going on in Alabama. And we're like, oh, yeah? Okay.
Oh, you see what you're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're headed down that path. Headed down that path.
Our ish might stink, but y'all's is a little funky too.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. There's some wild restaurant conversations going on in those two states right now, I bet, in Alabama and Georgia. Keep your eye on that story. Jalen Carter facing the reckless driving and racing charged with reckless driving and racing, and has to go deal with it in Georgia theoretically today and maybe the rest of this week. Already said he wasn't working out at the combine. Now, does he make any appearance at the Combine? We'll keep our eye on that story. Coming up next, let's talk some basketball. Texas and TCU tonight in Fort Worth. It is simple as if Texas wins, they got a shot at the title. If they lose, they get nothing on Sunday. The game on Saturday against Kansas would mean nothing. We'll get you set up for all of that with the right call coming up in the crab bag. I'll tell you about the basketball game I saw last night, plus the real show I saw at halftime. This is The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Wow. I don't quite have this one. It's got a little bit of a Rick Springfield feel to it, but it's not. I don't think it's Rick. I don't know who it is, Zay. Who you got?
Air Race.
Who?
Air Race.
Air Race?
Yeah.
Not familiar. Not familiar. All right.
Featuring Jason Bonham.
Oh, Jason Bonham on drums. Okay. Jason Bonham is the son of John Bonham, who was the drummer of Led Zeppelin. So that's one of Jason's projects. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that little detail in. Because if Jason's on drums, that'll at least get you something. He was amazing. They got videos of John teaching Jason how to play drums, and I think he's like 20 months old, something like that. And he's sitting on the drums just killing it. Just killing it. But again, if maybe the greatest rock drummer that ever lived is your dad,
It's tough.
it's going to wear off.
Yeah.
It's going to wear off. That was great. That's good stuff. All right, so Air Race, a little Jason Bonham project getting us started there. Chad and Zay with you on this Wednesday. The Jalen Carter story kind of taken over in the football world, unfortunately. A lot of different people texting us. We'll get to some of that. 337-3776. Remember, is the Specs text line. Somebody said Chad's trying to be Jalen's PR exec. And will Jerry and Jalen be on trial at the same time next year? Perfect draft choice behind bars. Somebody else says, just call it. Carter will be a Cowboy. It's like Zay said. Somebody said, dude, here it is. This is a perfect text, Zay, for the SEC. Dude, UGA will cover up anything. Go Tigers.
We talking LSU or Auburn?
Oh, it was GEAUX. So
there you
that's
go.
an LSU
LSU,
Tiger
yeah.
with a comment. And this says, LOL, Alabama and Georgia are battling to get the worst humans on their team. Oh, my God.
But it kind of goes back to the Deion thing that we talked about yesterday, Chad. Like, sometimes you got to have some guys where you're like, man, I got to be my head on the swivel when I go in their neighborhoods, trying to recruit them, go in those houses. And we talk about Deion wasn't lying to a certain extent. We just can't believe he said it.
Right.
And you go look at a situation like this.
Yeah, I wonder what behind closed doors, now that we've had a couple stories like this in the SEC, and I'm sure it's in a lot of places, unfortunately, but what would a coach tell you behind the scenes, away from off the record, about like street racing? Hey, coach, what if you hear he's involved in this? What if you hear he's involved in racing? Like, I have no idea what they would say.
Right.
Like, is that an immediate, oh, no, or to what you're talking about? Well, I do need him to be willing to do this.
Right.
So if he's willing to do this, I then could, as long as he can do it safely, I can then coach him to do this.
Yeah, I'm Steve Sarkisian. I get that situation. Yeah, he likes to race. He loves Fast and Furious movies, etc. Cool. We got Circus of America right down the street. We can go there on our off days and have some fun. Get it out of system.
I can get you a ride along at Coda.
Yeah. Just anyway, but we can't. I ain't trying to see you on Barton Springs and South Lamar in that ruckus.
No. You don't need that.
I don't need that.
That's a good point. This says the SEC is so insane you have people poisoning trees and going to prison for their team. Yep, that's that.
Oh my God.
That's that conference too.
This is where we want to go.
That is that conference too. You are asking, just like my team did, you are asking to be a part of it. Just make sure you're comfortable with that on the way in. You are asking on purpose to be a part of all this. This is what
we're bringing some class to the SEC.
That's how I tried to look at it too.
No, y'all are hell no. Y'all ain't bring no class.
You see how that works for you long term, but that's a good way to think about it. That's a great way to think about it.
We classier than y'all, so
that's what I tried to do in 2011. It didn't work out so well in some ways. All right, let's get to some basketball. Texas, it's simple math now. Kansas wins last night. They get a share of the conference title. No, it's not a best of show. Kansas wins a share of the conference title. Big shock, right? So that's at least what's going to happen. Texas needs to win tonight and beat Kansas to then get a share themselves. So let's get to tonight because otherwise the Kansas game won't matter. The Right Call segment with Zay. Isaiah, it's Texas and TCU, and this time they got to do it in Fort Worth.
That's right, Chad. The Right Call segment brought to you by Syntex Tickets. Go to syntextickets.com for your concert, theater, stand-up, and sports tickets. Hey, Shelby, get them to me. Get them to me quick. Go to syntextickets.com. Man, yeah, tonight's game, Chad, I'm very nervous because with how the schedule has worked and what you saw Kansas do to Texas Tech last night, squeaking by with a 4-point dub and being for sure co-champs of the Big 12, depending on what the Horns do tonight and Saturday. Again, with what the schedule has shaped out to be, that puts a lot of pressure on Texas because now they play tonight. Now they know they have to win in order to even have a shot. And it's so easy to look forward to Saturday and this kind of be a trap game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Jamie Dixon's squad, who had an 18-point lead on, 18-point lead on January 11th and blew it, ended up losing to Texas by 4, and now you got Mike Miles back, who looked really good against Tech a couple of nights ago on Saturday, and they're looking like that team that could really make some noise once March comes. So hopefully Texas isn't looking ahead to Saturday thinking that, okay, we could secure co-Big 12 champs if we beat Kansas. Well, no, you got a top 25 matchup tonight against a really good team that doesn't like you.
The Kansas game has all that, and it's senior day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last home game. It's everything that you would pack into that. It's a great point. And then, also I worry about everybody's eyesight going to Fort Worth because this floor
ugly.
is god awful. I swear, I think there's something wrong with my TV every time. I hate that I'm gonna have to watch this tonight because I hate that floor.
I do like the red 3-point line. That's about it.
Yes,
that's the coolest part. Take away everything.
Yeah,
else.
The blood in the eyes reference.
Yeah,
TCU does that. I'm fine, but the floor is crazy. But yeah, it's. I want to see. Obviously, the start last time was really not good for Texas, even at Moody. Give me your guy tonight. I'll give you an A+ performance from anybody you like. Who's the most important guy for you tonight?
Marcus Carr.
Okay.
Marcus Carr has been a little inconsistent as of late. I mean, against Baylor, he only had 11 points, and they made life really difficult for him. With the way he's been playing all year long, around 17 points a game, he has to continue to play well. And I know it's the Big 12. It's difficult. Now these teams have seen you so many times. The scouting reports only up the ante. That's why guys like Dylan Mitchell, they got to come along. That's why Brock, he can't go over like he did against Baylor because the key's going to be on Timmy Allen, Sir'Jabari Rice, Marcus Carr. So we need Tyrese Hunter. He has to continue to do what he does, but he's going to have to worry about Mike Miles on the other end, trying to slow him down. And Mike Miles, he's such a threat at 18 points a game. I thought even though that he was hurt with his knee injury, that was able for him to get, some energy back to take this next few games to really get going into March. And he had that nasty dunk against Texas Tech to give them the lead. You could tell that knee's all right. Mm-hmm. So guys like Damian, he's back.
Yeah.
Damian Bowe, he's super athletic, super rangy as a guard. Emmanuel Miller, I think he might be the most underrated player in the Big 12. He's a really good player, number 2 for the TCU Horned Frogs. So Eddie Lampkin didn't play against Texas Tech. And he hasn't been playing well really most of the season, but these last 5 games or so, he really hasn't been playing well. And I think that's had to do with the injuries that he's been, dealing with as of late. But they got Xavier Cork. He's going to be the starting center for him if Eddie Lampkin doesn't play. And you know who scares me? Jacoby Coles. Jacoby Coles could shoot it. And he hit some huge free throws against Texas Tech to secure their game. He stretches the floor for them, and we know Jamie Dixon's squads, they're so good at offensive rebounding. They're so good at, being the more aggressive team. That's how they want to play. They want to get up and down the court. They might not shoot the ball well from the outside, but they will still shoot it. And if they get hot, they're going to get more confidence. So they're going to go at Texas' head, especially you saw on Saturday against Baylor. Baylor had 22 free throws that they made. 26 times they went to the line, or 26 shots that they shot at the free throw, while Texas only had around 12 or so.
Yeah.
That can't happen. You can't allow to have dumb fouls on one end and on the other not be the aggressor offensively. So Timmy Allen, he's got to be a lot better too.
And we've watched Texas do that multiple games this year.
Yeah, they'll go on these droughts. They went on a huge drought when they were up 18-4 against Baylor. Then Baylor ended up winning the half 29-25. Like, that's awful.
Right.
That's awful. And I really don't like, Chad, when Timmy Allen has the ball on the wing in ISO situations. Teams have started to figure out that it's a lot easier to guard than you think, especially when Dylan Mitchell's out there and you don't have to worry about him.
Yeah. For Allen, that's too far out for me. It feels like he's too far away at that point.
When he's moving, when he's cutting to the basket, when he's coming off screens and curls, and when his mid-range shots going.
Mid-range stuff,
That's when the Timmy Allen that we like, getting the ball off the rim, defensive rebound, pushing it up the court himself and making things happen, getting into his little pull-up jumper, getting to the line, shooting, using his pump fake. That's the Timmy Allen we need. But when we give him the ball and he has it on ISOs, remember, like a couple of games ago, he had a 5-second violation.
Yeah. I know.
Just holding the ball and trying to make something happen. And if you're Coach Terry and this coaching staff, you want to get away from that, because when all four guys that aren't guarding Timmy Allen are in help side and they're just watching and everybody else is just standing around, if Timmy Allen's going to be in ISO situations, there better be movement on the other side. There has to be movement. And Timmy Allen has to know, okay, with that movement happening, am I looking for open guys, whether there's flare screens on the other side, whether there's down screens and Marcus Carr's coming up to the top of the key where he likes to shoot it. You got to be looking at all those things while figuring out what your man's doing defensively to give you the advantage to score on them. So when Texas gets into the half-court sets, which we see just a little too much of, that ISO ball, that's where they could get into trouble. Now we're starting to see a lot more teams not fall for the Sir'Jabari Rice pump fake, because it's been so famously known around college basketball. Every single commentator that has a Texas game talks about it.
Yeah.
It's on the scouting report out the ass. So now people are starting to figure out, which again, we've been talking about all week, Sir'Jabari Rice, I know he can't wait till the tournament, till he sees some new faces and teams that just haven't seen him before, where the shot fake will start, coming into play a lot more. But Dylan Mitchell, if he's going to continue to start, he has to give you more, especially defensively. Like, he had a couple of dunks offensively these last couple of games at the beginning of the first half, but then he just becomes invisible. And we know Arterio Morris could be up and down, and it's so hard for him to get minutes with Rice, Hunter, and Carr, taking up all the guard minutes. We know Tyrese Hunter has to continue to be good. He has a huge job tonight trying to stop Mike Miles and slow him down. Dylan Disu was terrific against Baylor with 24 points, but where was Christian Bishop? Where was Brock? Where was Timmy Allen? You can't just have one of those guys do good and the rest of the three do bad, especially for the bigs, including Dylan Mitchell. So I'm nervous about tonight. I really am. I think TCU has so much more to play for with just trying to get revenge on the last game and trying to up their seeding in the tournament, while Texas, they might have the pressure on them knowing that Kansas won last night and they have to win tonight just to get a shot tie the Big 12 title before Saturday comes.
Yep, only the share is now available because Kansas got their part last night. Texas needs these two wins. Texas and TCU, it's an 8 o'clock tip tonight, so on the later side, 7:30 pregame for you right here on the Horn. Coming up at 105, more on that and some other Longhorn stuff with Justin Wells of Inside Texas and On3.com. We're only 5 days away from Texas spring practice. We'll get some combine thoughts from him as well. Bijan, Roschon, tomorrow it's DeMarvion and the other two guys as well, getting it started with the D-line and linebackers. Justin's coming up at 105. Up next in the crab bag, I'll tell you about a big-time basketball star I saw last night that's headed to a Big 12 school, but I'll also tell you about the show I saw at halftime. I didn't even know this was going on at high school basketball games. It was fun to watch, though. Coming up on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, the last one had a Bonham on drums. This one sounds like a serious guitar tune. Oh, well, I mean, I think I know this guy. This sounds like Mr. Dubrow. We going back to Quiet Riot?
That's right.
Yeah. What's the song called?
Condition Critical.
Oh, okay. That was the name of an album as well. I'm not familiar with the title track. My bad to you QR fans out there. Great frontman, Kevin Dubrow. Quiet Riot. Rest in peace to the great Kevin Dubrow. Quiet Riot and Air Race have been a part of the show today. Apparently, Air Race is a Jason Bonham associated product, so you may want to check that out. Justin Wells coming up at 1:05 from Inside Texas at On3.com. And coming up at 1:30 in our Flex segment, we are going to talk to the coach of the Stony Point Tigers. They advanced last night and advanced in a big way. It was close for a little while, but they pull away 69-50 was the final score. Stony Point outscored Buda Johnson 41-24 in the second and third quarters combined. And that was the difference. That's when they really separated. Antoine Thompson will join us. He'll talk about their next matchup with San Antonio Brennan. Congratulations to Stony Point. Zay was there calling it last night. Sounded like a great crowd at Burger.
Yeah, it brought back so many memories. I love that gym so much. Tony Burger Center, just a classic venue. And yeah, Stony Point, they were up by 10 going into halftime. And I told Roger Wallace, man, Buda Johnson, they got to get off to a really quick start to give themselves some confidence. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, Stony Point could really blow it open because you could kind of feel Stony Point smelling blood.
No doubt.
And right when the third quarter started, Buda Johnson, back-to-back turnovers. Stony Point, 5 points off those turnovers. Coach Kennison calls a timeout. That's basically ball game.
It was done. Yeah, no, you were absolutely right. I thought you guys did a great job as always, and certainly Stony Point did a great job. We'll talk to Coach Thompson coming up at 1:30. Speaking of high school basketball, I got to look at some as well last night in another location. Let's get into that in the crap bag.
Chad's crap bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. All right, first off, I got to thank Mike Harge. We always tell you just to keep it right here on the horn, and you'll find out everything. You'll be entertained, hopefully, and maybe you're informed. Harge told me as I'm driving home last night, hey, Colleen Ellison and A&M Consolidated are playing out in Elgin.
I know. I was shocked to see that you went.
Hey, Chad, if you want to get out and check. And so I thought, let me check the schedule, see what's going on with the girls, and I might be able to get out there. And he mentioned a player to me that is headed to Oklahoma State.
Yep.
And I got to see him. Jamron Keller. 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", depending on who you're asking. A combo guard, has signed with Oklahoma State. Zay, he's a lot of fun to watch.
He is.
He's fun.
He's so athletic. He's so fast that he looks like a linebacker.
Yeah.
Like he's swolled up. And if you're Coach Boynton at Oklahoma State, you love that type of guy. He fits in for Oklahoma State and Stillwater perfectly. And, yeah, I think Colleen Ellison, they could definitely do some damage. I saw them at the Pflugerville tournament earlier this season, and they ended up losing that game, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, but, man, Keller, he's a serious player, and you could see why Colleen Ellison has so much success.
Yeah, great body control driving to the basket, that physicality he's got. It's hard to knock him off a line. And it's a good team. It's a long team, too. Dion Ware, 6'5". Oladipo, 6'6", 6'4", Chris White. They have long, lean guys. And when they turn you over, they are going the other way fast. They have great fast break. And they ended up winning easily, 65-43. It was not close. By halftime, you knew they were up by like 12, and I had the same thought you did about your game. Oh, if A&M Consolidated doesn't do something early, they're going to get taken out of this thing. And by the end of the third quarter, it was done.
Yeah, you watch Keller play, like he'll guard big men and hold his own because he's so damn strong and so athletic.
Yeah, you can't move the dude.
You can't move him, but he's going to be a point guard when he goes to Oklahoma State. He's going to run
fun.
Point for Coach Mike Boynton. So he reminds me a lot of when Jamal Shedd was at Manor.
I can see that.
He reminds me a lot of that. Just so athletic and so physical at the high school level. Doesn't even compare to the guys he's playing against.
The two most impressive moments to me, he had one where he cut through two defenders on the baseline, got to the basket, a guy comes over, gives him all kinds of contact. He goes up and under for an and one and made it. Effortless.
Yeah.
But then the other one was on the opposite end of the floor. He's in the defensive lane. He has rebounded the ball, and he's being pushed out, and he's falling over. But he sees a teammate just with his left hand, just a lightning quick pass to about half court. The teammate finds a guy under the basket for an easy little bunny in transition, and Keller's laying back on the floor, having created all of it. It was really impressive stuff. But the most impressive thing I saw last night, Zay, was not Jamron Keller. It was the bring it on style turf war between the cheerleading groups at halftime. I did not realize this was going on at high school basketball games. But the Colleen Ellison cheerleading crew and the A&M Consolidated cheerleading crew were yelling and screaming and cheering and just back and forth to each other. Not to their fan bases. All of a sudden I hear this cheer come up. And I was like, why is there a cheer? Oh, they're cheering because one of the Ellison cheerleaders is doing doing flips, right? The round offs and back handsprings and all that stuff across the floor. So at halftime, they start like exchanging tricks. One of them will do a set of trick and then look at the other like, what's up now? And then go back. And then what? So the stars were a male cheerleader on the Colleen Ellison side, had the frosted tips going in the hair, and he was a badass. Clearly had not missed ab day. He does all kinds of flips and turns, and he's giving them little shimmies and stuff. And then the star for A&M Consolidated was a little blonde with the ponytail. She starts doing flips, and then she comes out waving at the Ellison people, giving them a weird little hand sign. Like, I don't know what she was like. She was showing me a wedding ring.
That's like the Beyonce.
Oh, is that what it is?
Okay. Like you can't.
She was giving them that. Ellison was coming up with all these cheers, and they're stomping on the floor. You don't want none. You don't want none. And I'm like, wait, what is happening? It was so entertaining. I'm standing over in the corner on the Colleen Ellison side, just kind of soaking it all up. I thought I'd go to their world since Harge is a Colleen Ellison guy, and I wanted to kind of see it from their perspective and get closer to Keller, just see how it'll. And, man, it was so entertaining. As I was leaving, I walked up to the male cheerleader I was talking about, the star of that show. I said, hey, man, that team was great, but you guys were the stars tonight. Thank you very much. Y'all were the most entertaining thing I saw tonight.
Did you hear any OG cheers? Like, U-G-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. Yeah, no. You ugly. But I feel like in 2023, that might be frowned
Didn't
upon.
have the you ugly, but I was watching you could tell there were like parents that were like the moms of the cheerleaders. And a couple times they had to do a little silent count like, okay, that's far enough. That's far enough.
Yeah.
Don't do any more. We're good. It was weird. I just didn't know that was happening. I didn't know Bring It On stuff was happening at high school. But I guess it makes sense because it's nobody's turf.
Right.
We're in Elgin, and it's A&M Consolidated and Colleen Ellison. I guess the cheerleaders have to scream and yell and figure out whose place it really is.
Oh, man. There's nothing more classic than Gabrielle Union versus Kirsten Dunst.
Ooh.
East Compton, Rancho Cucamonga High School. They're out there stealing their routines and stuff.
I do
Classless.
enjoy that movie.
I love that movie, too.
Because you got a little Eliza Dushku in that movie, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
come on. That's a fantastic movie. It was good stuff. Shout out to Colleen Ellison. That team does look really good. I heard Harge say they were like number 2 in the state going into last night. They looked every bit of it. I talked to a couple people last night that said, hey, now, I know what the score was, but A&M Consolidated is pretty good.
Wow.
And Colleen Ellison made them look like that. So 65-43, it was a no-doubter. They move on. They're going to play Port Arthur Memorial in the next round.
Oh.
That's their next opponent. How about that matchup? Yeah. Port Arthur Memorial. And I'm told the number 1 team at 5A is Kimball?
Dallas Kimball?
I think that's what I was told last night.
That's where Arterio Morris came from.
I think that's what I heard last night, that they are actually number 1 and number 2 in the state is Colleen Ellison.
So Port Arthur
Memorial.
I want to say they got a guy that's going to Washington. That's a big-time player.
Really?
That Texas wanted.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see what that looks like. There's some good players on that Ellison team, man. We'll see if they can get it done. For Harge and all those folks out, let me see if I get this right, out in the 254? Is that what Harch calls it?
Represent.
Is that what they are out there in the 254? We'll see if they can bring home the title. They got one round further last night. Remember, flex segment coming up at 1:30. We'll talk to Antoine Thompson, the Stony Point head coach, after their big win. Up next, Justin Wells of Inside Texas and On3.com. We'll talk Longhorn stuff, including the guys at the Combine this week, what he thought of baseball last night, and basketball getting ready for TCU. Don't move. It's the Horn. All right, let's go hour number 2 on this Wednesday. Welcome to March. We hope it is going well for you already. Longhorn baseball falls to LSU last night. We talked about that a little bit. Longhorn basketball has the easy math in front of them. Got to beat TCU, got to beat Kansas. Then you get a share of the regular season conference title. Plus, we got Longhorns at the Combine. We're going to talk about all of it right now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. By the way, I'm Chad Hastings. Isaiah Collier is here. We're just so excited to talk to him. It's Justin Wells, Inside Texas, on3.com, at Justin Wells 2424. Justin, how are you?
Gentlemen, this is March.
Yes,
And
sir.
so it just got a little bit better when we woke up off that pillow this morning.
That's right. A little bit better. Now, Justin, you got a little bit of country in you, like I got a little bit of country in me. Did you hang out with a bunch of folks growing up that talked about March and coming in like a lion and out like a lamb and all that stuff? Do you have people around you that believe in all that?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't know that reference.
See, it's good.
I know.
You know what that tells? No. What that tells me is y'all are getting enough precipitation out there. My folks were out there in West Texas drying up, going crazy. So that tells me what I need to know. That's actually good that you probably haven't heard that mess. I had too much superstition around me with those country folk out there. So that's good. That's good to hear.
Listen, if it's not in the Farmer's Almanac, I ain't about it.
Fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and start with basketball tonight. Like I said, they got it laid out in front of them. They got to get it tonight and then beat Kansas. Zay was talking earlier as a Longhorn fan about his nerves going into this game, just because of how up and down they've been on the road. What do you think we're going to see tonight in Fort Worth?
Oh, good question. I think we're going to see a lot better team. Before the Baylor game, I had some pretty strong convictions that this was going to be a number 2 seed, number 3 at the least, and that they had a pretty good handle on their identity and what they were about, their mettle when they hit that wall. We've seen them come back big time this season in a lot of big games. And so I felt like, everything was pretty smooth until going to Waco. That was the worst performance of the season, in my opinion. And it wasn't just because Baylor kind of snowballed on them. They lose their top scorer, and then they go a plus 27 after that. Like, that's just insane. But also give Coach Drew a lot of credit. I think that was a game where they outcoached Texas, and I felt like Baylor's actually starting to peak a little bit, unfortunately. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run now. That's a team with talent. But with Texas, that left a bad taste in my mouth, guys. Like, even when they were losing a few games this year to some good opponents, they were close. And even when they were, even in that Kansas State opener at home, they still played hard the whole time. I felt like there was some let-up at the end of the Baylor game. I felt like there was a little bit of a let-up. And so hopefully Rodney Terry crawled up into some behind this week and let them know, look, everything is in front of you. You can either share this Big 12 championship, something that's wanted to be accomplished, a check off a goal, or we can settle into the Big 12 tournament, probably get a number 3 seed and try to find some momentum there. TCU is going to be big. The biggest thing I think is going to be, like you said, on the road has been kind of a bugaboo of sorts. But what you want to see from this group, I think, is don't overlook the Frogs. Because in the Big 12, they know Kansas is waiting for them. They know Kansas is going to show up in Austin, and that can be the de facto Big 12 championship if they beat TCU. But they got to beat TCU. So as long as Terry and those guys have them focused on the job at hand, and that's handling business tonight, and that will tell me more about the team. If there's some hangover from the Baylor loss, that's going to be a little unnerving. This is March. You know what I mean, guys? So This is the time to start to peak. We've seen it with Kansas. We've seen it with Baylor. And strangely enough, that's 2 of your last national championships. Okay. So they understand where they're going through it. I think Texas is learning that right now. Tonight will be another big lesson. Don't overlook the Frogs. It's Big 12 play. Everybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay Wells. You're absolutely right about, the Baylor loss just left such a bad taste in your mouth as a Texas fan. And I think a lot of it had to do with you want to be peaking at the right time during this month. And it just makes you a little nervous because now teams are starting to figure out Sir'Jabari Rice shot fake. And you see Dylan Mitchell, he was just invisible on Saturday. So he's not playing where you need him to play. But now Coach Terry and his coaching staff from Donald Wald, Ogden, McClain, Chappelle, all those guys, it's just about getting everybody on the same page and playing good basketball at the right time. And that's so hard in the Big 12 because everybody's so damn good. But if you look at a situation for Dylan Mitchell and you see somebody like Brock Cunningham, do you think there maybe, the guy should make a substitution change at the starting spot, or do you not want to mess with something that's been consistent all season long, and that's Dylan Mitchell being in the starting lineup?
Damn, that's a good point, Zay. I love when they went to that smaller lineup, so to speak, or more athletic lineup, so to speak, and with Mitchell. And he's going to, he hasn't hit a freshman wall. I think we're still going to see him grow and still do things well. It's a good question because ultimately, this is a group that, I'm trying to word it right, you shouldn't be jacking with your rotation on March 1st. Let me put it that way. You should have this thing settled. Your bench should be shorter. The rotation should be crisper. You should know exactly what you are and who you are and what you're going to be able to produce. Everybody knows their identity. And this is what worried me about the Baylor game. When Texas starts off games shooting well, and I guess you could say that for any team, but especially for Texas, we've noticed this season when they shoot the ball early, well in games, they win most of those games, if not all of them. And that's why the Baylor game just really stuck with me because they came out on fire, and I thought this is the recipe. This is how they beat Baylor the first time, not in this way, but they knocked them off once, trying to sweep them for the first time since I believe 2013, 2014, and so messing with rotations on March 1st is not ideal. Now, does that mean you're not a few tweaks away from getting back to where you were? Absolutely. If Terry can find maybe a different set of during a rotation, a little bit different movement, maybe a different matchup, so to speak. If one of your guys isn't holding the way you should, man, that's the beauty of it this year, guys. Texas is really good. We just don't know how good, and I think that's what we're going to find out over the next 4 to 5 weeks. That's what we're going to find out is just, okay, this team was top 10 for almost all season long. Now we hit March when it matters. Are they really that good? Tonight, I think, is the beginning of that answer.
Talking with Justin Wells, Inside Texas on 3.com. Remember, we've got the tip for you at 8 o'clock tonight, Texas and TCU, 7:30 pregame. Justin, let's get a little football talk in here. Obviously, right now, we're ready for Combine Week. They crank it up tomorrow. You got Bryce Young saying he's not going to throw. Jalen Carter already wasn't going to work out, and now he's got some other stuff to deal with. But let's talk Bijan. He's announced he's going to go through all the workouts in 2023. Would you tell him that's a good idea? And if so, what do you think he can ultimately gain from the workouts on Sunday?
Man, you guys came with the questions today. Y'all woke up on point.
It's March, baby. We on our game. We're ready.
Come on, Jay Wells.
It's March. Listen. This shows you how much I don't know, okay? If I'm Bijan Robinson, I'm not doing crap at the combines. You're going in the first 15 picks. I'm not doing anything. But that's why I'm not Bijan Robinson or his agent or the people that advise him and get paid to do so. And this kind of shows you, if anything, I think it shows the owners, Bijan's a competitor. Bijan's not just going to be a guy that is load management. Bijan's not going to be a guy that just hangs on the side, tries to get it where he can. This kid's coming to run a 4-3-4-4. This kid's coming to do the interview process and to win over these owners and general managers. This guy and these coaches, if I'm Bijan, I don't do any of it because I know you're going in the top 15, top 20 at the latest, so there's really no incentives. But from him personally, I mean, look at his transformation. There's a post on Twitter today showing him a few months ago to where he looks now with his trainer. And it's basically getting it, they obviously train for a lot of the 40 and the shuttle and things like that, but it was mainly to get his body fat down. Guys, his arms look like LaRon Landry's. Like, it's crazy the type of training these guys can do in a short period of time to get where they need to be. And so you see Bijan working that hard, and the kid knows he's going in the first round, yet he's still working that hard. That just goes to show more of his character. That just goes to show everything you read that's good and positive about Mr. Robinson. Robinson is absolutely accurate. And you got to give the guy credit. He doesn't want to be that guy, I guess, that, well, you don't really have to run. And I'm not holding it back against Bryce Young. If I'm Bryce Young, I'm not throwing either. You don't. You want to see me throw? Put on that tape for the last 2 years. There's a lot of throws on. There's a lot of throws there. Yeah. And if I was Bijan, I'd say the same thing. You want to see me run? Turn on the clips, coach, and you can see a lot of it. They asked Will Anderson today, which I felt like is the best defensive player in college football for the last 2 seasons. What is the best player you played against? Who is the best competitor, the best football player you played against in college football? He said Bijan Robinson before you could blink. And so that kind of shows you the respect he has from his peers and from his opponents and guys like that. So long story short, if I'm Bijan, I don't do anything. I sit there and I bring in my Starbucks and I get my new shoes and make sure I look good. I do my interviews. I ain't running. I'm not testing. I'm not doing any of that. But that's why Bijan Robinson is who he is. He's got that character. He wants to prove to people why he should go in the top 15 or top 20. And if you've learned who Bijan is, that's exactly how he thinks.
Yeah, Jay Wells, I saw those photos, too, of Bijan Robinson looking all cut up and stuff, and it just makes doughboys like myself just sulk in my own tears. But let me ask you this about this current football team. You know, with this wide receiver core and how deep they are and how deep they can be, we know Chris Jackson, he has a lot to look forward to with working with these guys. And you hear about Brennan Thompson getting ready to run track. And first thing I thought about was good for him. But again, with how deep this wide receiver room is, you can't afford to be left behind and not be in the film room and not be going through that normal, spring camp grind and summer camp grind. And I know he likes to do track and stuff, but do you fear that somebody as talented as Brennan Thompson, coming in, going into his sophomore year could get left behind? I mean, we already got Savion Red going to running back.
Yes. And I'm going to give you 2 names, Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore. There's a reason Savion Red moved to running back, and I don't think it was just to beef up the running back room, even though he does have the body in the running style of a tailback. It's because Jonte Cook is going to play as a freshman. He is already one of the best route runners in the program. DeAndre Moore, it came on and is already, making strides in early workouts and off-season stuff. And so, yeah, it's going to affect Brennan. It's going to be tough. And that's Brennan Thompson. He's a competitor. All right, guys, that's what he does. He's really good at playing wide receiver, and he's really good at running track. And right now he's going to do that for the University of Texas. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of John Burt. And Burt, you could make a case, kind of fell a little behind in football because of track. Now, you don't hold that against them, but football still goes on. And the guys that are behind you are just chomping at the bit. If you don't think Jonte Cook doesn't grin every morning he wakes up knowing Brennan Thompson's running out on the track, think again, guys. These freshmen that come in are so mentally ready. Anthony Hill Jr., Leona LaFau, Arch Manning, Jonte Cook, Cedric Baxter, Sadir Mitchell. You can't afford to play other sports and not expect these players to come take your job. That's just common sense. That's just the way the world works. Give Brennan a ton of credit. That kid can fly. And playing football, he'll be back in the program this summer, getting back into the swing of things and hopefully picks up where he left off last year and hopefully tries to build on that a little bit. But, yes, it will definitely affect you. It's not like they didn't bring anybody in behind him. They did. They brought in 2 guys that are much better at the position. They're much more polished. They're much more nuanced. They've played the position for years. Brennan's still in that transition of kind of learning the nuances of wide receiver. And so losing that spring, it doesn't help him for football. It definitely helps the University of Texas athletic department because he's going to do well on the track. But absolutely, he's going to lose some reps. And Jonte Cook and DeAndre Moore are going to be there to eat up every single crumb.
There's some part of my gut that says Jonte Cook gets up every day and smiles about something. I bet that dude gets up smiling about a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
be that gifted, I get it.
No doubt. I'd be smiling too. That's Justin Wells, Inside Texas on 3.com, at Justin Wells 2424 on Twitter. Justin, we always appreciate the time, brother. Have a great week, and we'll hit you next Wednesday.
Hey, nothing but love, guys.
Thanks, Jay Wells.
Good stuff there. Yeah, glad to hear that Justin Wells was not a part of such countryness. My country folk, my great-grandmother was into this March thing, and for her, the first day of March was critical, Zay, because the weather on the first day of March was going to be the exact opposite of the last day of March.
What?
This is a big deal for her. If it comes in like a lion, it goes out like a lamb. If it comes in like a lamb, it goes out like a lion. She's a firm believer, and she'd remind you all March, like March 15th, March 18th. Well, you know, we had a mild start to the month. You know what's coming. You know what's coming March 31st, don't you? Like, she would get ready for it. Oh, they were into all that stuff, man. All these weird country superstitions and everything about the moon and the sun and the wind and oh, my goodness.
That's seriously country.
It's crazy. I think of it every March 1st. And, of course, tomorrow we'll get into another March thing, and that would be Texas Independence Day. Texas is going to have a birthday tomorrow on Thursday the 2nd. But today we are talking lots of football. There's basketball, certainly. And in the area, there's high school basketball to talk about. Last night, Stony Point got by Buda Johnson. We'll talk to their head coach, Antoine Thompson, coming up. They advance. I believe it's further than Stony Point has ever been, and he knows his opponent for the next round. We'll get his thoughts on that and just how good his team was last night. Flex segment is coming up next on The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
It's a nice funky sound right there. I'm thinking of an artist. I just want to see if he sings. No? Hadn't happened yet. Maybe I'm wrong. It felt like a Stevie Wonder tune when it started.
No.
But then it's taken off into another area. Who is this?
Commodores.
Commodores. Okay.
Machine Gun.
Okay. Is this like a Commodore's instrumental? I guess.
Maybe.
That's good. It's very good. What's it called again?
Machine Gun.
Machine Gun. Okay. Commodores, Quiet Riot, and Air Race have all been a part of the show today. Coming up here in the Flex segment, we are hoping to visit with Antoine Thompson, the coach of the Stony Point Tigers. Before we do that, we'll get you set for the Wednesday Night Flex show at a special time tonight. So let's jump on into the Flex and we'll get it covered.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
All right, since Texas plays TCU tonight at 8, that means it's a 7:30 pregame. So we backed the Wednesday Night Flex show up a little bit to get that full hour in. Tonight at 6:30, it's the Wednesday Night Flex show with Zach and Cameron and the Flex crew, and they're going to have a Hutto Hippo vibe going tonight. They're going to talk to football coach Will Compton. They're also going to talk to the talented quarterback Will Hammond, who's coming back this year, of course, and there's a wide receiver named Alex Green that a lot of people are talking about up in Hutto land, and we'll be talking about around this area. Those two, the players will be in studio with the guys. Coach will be joining them for the show as well. So tonight at 6:30, your Wednesday Night Flex show. All right, let's get into this basketball conversation. We had told you about the matchup. We were looking forward to it. It happened last night, and in the end, it was the Stony Point Tigers advancing 69-50 over Buda Johnson. And Zay, you got us the head coach again. This is twice you've been able to get us the head coach. You must have some serious pull here.
Yo, this is my guy, man. I appreciate him doing this for us, coming to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. He was a Syntex, all Syntex player during his Maynard days, played college ball at Austin College, and he's now one of the best young head coaches in all of Texas, and his team has moved on to the 4th round with over 30-plus wins this season. Antoine Thompson, how you doing, my man?
Man, I appreciate you gentlemen having me again. Oh, you made me say you made me sound so good with the decorative adjectives that you put in there. I don't know about best. You gotta give me your definition of best. I'm still learning too much right now.
Hey, what you've done in just this season, Coach, it's been so impressive. You know, a lot of people they think that since y'all were good last year, you were just able to come in and take over, but it's not that easy. You've implemented your own philosophy. And again, this is high school basketball. Guys graduate. You have to regroup, and that's tough to do. But to get to where y'all are now and to have the season y'all have had, like, we couldn't be more proud that you're representing the Central Texas area, and you have to be proud of your ball club.
Well, yeah, man, I'm absolutely proud of these guys to continue what we, initiated last year with that senior-led group of 8 seniors. I find it more difficult with having to ingrain everything, reteach everything to the magnitude that we're doing right now. It's a pretty outstanding feeling, with, the surplus of talent that we do have right now. It's been a positive for us. However, you mentioned it. These still are teenagers. We're dealing with 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are learning themselves, learning maturation, and still growing through the development of learning our system and the culture that we're trying to set. So, it's been fun. It's been a grateful thing that I'm blessed to be a part of and lead these young men with.
Yeah, absolutely. And last night, man, what a performance that your team put on. You know, I've seen Buda Johnson a couple of times this year, and they're a really good ball club. And to beat them by 19 last night, led by Josiah Mosley, 20, Uriah Button had 19 himself. Just y'all able to establish y'all's pace of the game. You know, a lot of time in the playoffs, you have to adjust based on the team that you're playing, but you could tell y'all are going to play y'all's game regardless of who y'all play, and I marvel at.
Hey, man, it is a precedent for us to, create the identity of the game, create the pace of the game, as you mentioned, and more importantly, our kids just be comfortable with who we are. That's just been what we've taught all year. That's our identity that we wanted to create, and it's something that isn't familiar in Central Texas. Playing at a high pace, playing at the rate defensively that we want to create for opponents. That's just something that most teams don't prepare for. So, going into the playoffs, we didn't want to change who we were. We didn't want to change the dynamics of what we do. We may have to scale back and make the adjustments of what we have to get into within game. However, we didn't want to change too much for our kids. At the end of the day, it's just another game with greater stakes, with an opportunity for us to continue to grow, learn, and flourish on who we've been all year.
We're talking to Antoine Thompson, head coach of the Stony Point Tigers. They're taking on San Antonio Brennan in the next round on Friday, and we'll get to that. Coach, I wanted to ask you about the key point last night, at least on the scoreboard, because last couple games, you guys have been in close games, and then you find that pedal, and you find that momentum. Last night, you were plus 17 in the second and third quarters. For you, what was it? Was there a particular offensive possession? Was it a defensive moment? Was it something that was said in a huddle? What got it going last night? Because once it got going, Buda Johnson couldn't handle it.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna politically be correct right here. There were some good stern words utilized in the timeout in the second quarter.
Okay.
That usually motivates our guys, and I'm very appreciative of our young men because they respond to the constructive criticism that we provide to them. And within that timeout, we made a defensive adjustment. We're going with Jarrell Porto Sr. And Justin Zimmerman. And when people identify their roles in certain games, those two magnify that. Justin and Rello, they sit down on defense. They don't care who they guard 1 through 5. They just know that they have to give that spark to us. And, in that second quarter, that's what catapulted that run. For us to be able to create those series of stops and turn into offensive possessions that we executed on, that was a perennial point within the game. And then going into halftime, I just asked the kids for more. Give me more. Give yourselves more. And it's not for yourself, but it's for the man to your left and the right. And, that prompted that run in the third quarter. And that's just who we are. When we can get consecutive stops, that's what we practice every day. That's what we hone ourselves on. So for us to be able to do it in such an environment, it sets the tone for everything else that happens within the game.
Yeah, the run that y'all went on in the third quarter was pretty amazing. I mean, you're already up at halftime, 33-23, and then y'all get 2 steals that led to 5 straight points, and Coach Kennison and Buda Johnson had to call timeout, and that was basically game. I mean, Buda Johnson, they haven't seen that much this season, and one thing that, I really love about you, Twan, is you don't stop coaching. Like, y'all were already up by 19 points, and you put in, the bench guys that, don't play as much, and you're still coaching them. You're still getting after them. Like, I'm like, man, this guy doesn't take any time off. He's coaching the full 32, and I could really admire that because that's something that my pops did, and that's how you become a good coach, and that's how you develop that type of culture that you're going to have for multiple seasons as long as you're coaching, as long as you're the head coach on the sideline.
Right. Well, you mentioned it. Guys like, great leaders for me, individuals like your father, Coach Rowland, my mentors, Coach Andrews, who just passed, one of my coaches at Manor, Coach Pinson. Those individuals that I observed, they never stop coaching. And I think that's a big difference in the game for kids. At the end of the day, they need the instruction. It's just like being in the classroom. The moment you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And that's just my philosophy. Coaching everyone the same, coaching everyone to greater standards, coaching the full 32 minutes, because the moment we let up, it gives teams opportunities to think that they can still get into the game. So I'm just continuous, and I'm steadfast on 1 through 12, 1 through 14, whomever it is, managers included. Everyone is going to get the same roles and responsibilities. So I just hone in on that. I want to make sure that everyone is being coached to the same standard. I don't care if it's Josiah Mosley or XYZ. At the end of the bench, everyone will be held to the same standard.
Talking with Antoine Thompson against Stony Point, won last night 69-50. They play San Antonio Brennan coming up on Friday. And Coach, you don't get a whole week to come down from this one and get ready for an opponent. Just a couple of days. What do we know about San Antonio Brennan and this matchup on Friday?
Wow, what a talented group! A group of young men, sophomores, freshmen, a couple seniors. I've been watching film on these guys since about 6:30 this morning. and man, the preparation for these guys, you have to respect, you have to honor who they are. They have a young sophomore who is very talented, who can fill it up in bunches. And, we've talked about it thus far. Our defensive morale, our defensive tenacity, it has to increase even more with this Brennan team. They're tough, they're well coached. But I will say this though, the same token with us having to prepare for them, they got to prepare for us. It's a great opportunity for our kids to prepare themselves for post-secondary readiness, with our preparation towards scouts, towards itineraries in regards of alignment to the next game. This is what it looks like going to the collegiate level with this playoff run. So I'm pretty thrilled with the opportunity of seeing Brennan. We had an opportunity to match up with them in the early preseason that we've had, and we struggled with them early on. So this is one thing that we're saying right now is redemption time. So we got this one marked up. We've had this one marked up for a while, and kudos to Brennan for getting to the pinnacle of where they are. And we want to continue to work and invest on who we are in preparation for Friday's matchup at 7:30.
Antoine, you mentioned Brennan having a sophomore. Y'all have a really good sophomore yourselves in Uriah Button. He had a heck of a game last night. We know what Josiah Mosley did, and we know you're an East Austin kid growing up. Dog, you had all of East Austin there supporting y'all last night. All of East Austin supporting y'all there last night. How does that make you feel from being from that area, seeing so many faces? I saw Coach Rowland there, Brad Stiles. I know y'all have such a good relationship. Brad's my man, Bowie alum, Big right. Dallas and stuff. Just people I haven't seen in a long time coming out to support right. you. How does that make you feel?
Well, it gives, honestly, what you're saying there right now is giving me chills, because it's such a great feeling to get the community out in such a facet that we really haven't seen in a while. A lot of teams have made runs in the past, but to have the core leadership that we do from our coaching staff, who is from East Austin, born and raised, to have myself as the leader of this program right now, still recognizing my East Side roots, I'll never forget where I come from, and it's such an outstanding feeling to mix the communities, right? Because I want us to think about it. No, when I was in high school, coming to Round Rock was an anomaly. We were not going to go to Round Rock. Absolutely not. So, to see the two communities come together, I think that's what we need. And it's bigger than basketball. We want to see our communities come together with the gentrification that's changing in our city. We want to see our communities come together to coincide with the academic alignments that, they say Round Rock has that East Austin doesn't have. Well, we're all one. And, for us to all be there last night, to see so many faces that you generally would see in a LBJ or a Reagan or at a McCallum game, to be supporting a Round Rock High School, a Round Rock ISD high school, that's outstanding, man. And that's a part of the culture that we said we wanted to create. When I had Dallas and Devon want to come over and support me through this run, having Coach Bunn, Coach Saunders, Coach Hill, these are all black men that come from, communities of East Austin originals, So this is profound to see. It was outstanding to see it in the stands last night. And, getting that dub, it felt a lot. It felt really good, especially I'm going to say it anyway. To top off Black History Month, it was great to see all our people in the stands last night, man.
I feel you, Twan. I feel you.
That's fantastic, and it was a big win for Stony Point. If you want to keep supporting them, they're going to be at that North Side Gym, taking on San Antonio Brennan. Get on down there and keep supporting them, as now they have conquered the area, and now they're going to try to spread it out, keep on going, and head towards state and keep going. Friday night is the next one. That is Antoine Thompson, the head coach of the Stony Point Tigers. Coach, we appreciate the time so much. Thank you for allowing Zay to come watch the game last night, and thank you for not criticizing his broadcasting too much, because I know he and Roger were not perfect. I know you wanted to coach him right till the end, but we appreciate you letting them come out.
I appreciate you all having me on again. I got a lot of kudos from, I don't know if it was Zay or Roger that was boasting me up and my staff last night, but we thank you in advance.
There you go.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
That is awesome. Stony Point, they're a fun team to watch, too. The Mosley brothers are impressive. John Eric had some more big moments last night. Zay, you mentioned Bunton. He's so much fun to watch. They call him Uzi, and he's incredible, what he showed. And it feels like every time something starts to turn with that team, number 20, Tiki Morian, is part of it.
He's so tough.
It feels like he's a part of it every time. He's an ingredient when it starts to turn.
Every scouting report's going to say you got to stop Josiah Mosley, but they have so many other guys that can put the ball in the cup, and they're just so tough defensively, and it all just feeds off their coach. Like Coach Thompson, he's so intense, and you can tell how much he loves those guys, and they play so hard for him. Even though they have talent, you got to play hard too, especially when you get to this point. They have all of that. I think they could seriously make a run to get to the Alamo Dome to play for a state championship.
We will certainly hope that they can, and we'll be following it. Remember to check out FLXATX.com for schedules and games coming up, teams that are still in the area, at FlexATX on social media. Best of luck to Stony Point coming up on Friday. I'm sure we'll get you set up for that one later in the week. Coming up at 2, it's Chip Brown, horns247.com. Thoughts on the Longhorn basketball team getting ready for tonight. We'll get his thoughts on the combine as well. I want to hear him talk about DeMarvion Overshone, and does he think DeMarvion has a place in the NFL? Is it going to have to be at linebacker? We'll get into all of that. Up next, it's Where We At in Society. We'll see what Zay's got for us today. Don't move. It's the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Oh, there you go. Sometimes you hear the song and you think of the video. You got to drain that swimming pool for this one. Cuts like a knife. Bryan Adams?
That's right.
Are you kidding me? Oh, this woman was a smoke show in the early 80s. Whoo! Leather jacket, and by the end of it, we don't see everything, but she's basically wearing nothing but a swimsuit and jumping into an empty pool.
What?
It's an incredible video.
Why is the pool empty? Did she hurt herself?
Don't ask questions. It's Cuts Like a Knife by Bryan Adams.
Okay.
Early days, we asked no questions about concept. It didn't matter at all. There might have been a knife in the video.
Yo,
but I don't even know why.
My wife says this all the time, and it drives me nuts. She'll see like a new age video from one of today's generation people, and she'll be like, man, they just don't make videos like they used to. And I look at her like, woman, are you nuts? Our videos that we love made no sense either.
No, absolutely not.
You're just an old woman now.
My wife and I love to watch the old videos and out loud talk through what's happening because it makes no sense. Like in 85% of the videos, complete nonsense.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Videos have no meaning now. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Babe, I love you, but what the hell are you talking about?
They didn't then. Yeah, and Cuts Like a Knife is a perfect example of that. All right, Bryan Adams, Commodores, Quiet Riot, and Air Race have all been a part of the show. Thanks to Antoine Thompson of Stony Point for joining us and giving us some of his time as we get you the Flex segment. We do that every day at 1:30. Also, congrats to San Marcos. They also advanced last night. They won easily, 62-48 over San Antonio Reagan. Go ahead. Malik Presley had 17 in that one. So the Rattlers are still alive. Shout out to all those teams, boys and girls, that are still alive in the playoffs.
So is San Marcos, will they be in the San Antonio region too?
I would have to look at the bracket to see exactly where they'll be. Yeah, we'll double check that one this week.
Because maybe you could have a San Marcos versus Stony Point matchup to go to the Final Four state championship.
Might be. I have to see if they're on the same part of the bracket. Yeah, we'll double check that this week. There's a lot of good stuff going on there. Chip Brown coming up at 2. Right now, let's get you a little Where We At in Society. See what Zay's got for us.
Where are we at in society today?
All right, Zay, do I need to go to Twitter today? Are we discussing something?
We got some audio, baby. You know when we got to drag the Aggies, we got to drag them.
What happened? What did my Aggies do?
Being Aggies. Classless.
Oh, stop. You're going to need to be more specific. You're going to need to be way more
crappy
specific.
Fans.
Oh, what? Obviously not. They're trained to be the best fans in the world. What do you mean crappy fans?
Not according to the Aggie skipper, Jim. How do you pronounce Jim's last name?
Oh, Schlossnagle.
Schlossnagle. Yeah. I guess during the weekend series against Portland, where y'all lost the first 2 but won the last one, right?
That's correct. They salvaged a game of that series but lost it ultimately.
Yeah, and y'all blew out some random team yesterday by 20. But
HCU has a badass team. How dare you?
Okay, whatever. Either way, y'all got the win in. Listen to the skipper talk about the fans for the Aggies.
Okay.
That's kind of gone viral, but it just shows y'all's class.
All right.
Tough weekend, but staying into the last inning.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in him. I've been telling him the whole time. You know, I believe in him. So it's just this is a tough game, man. People, I got our own fans yelling at our players over the dugout. Like, I don't know what kind of place this is, but I thought there was some Aggie loyalty around here. You know, got a dude holding up a freaking newspaper, one of the dance teams over on the other side. Like, I don't know. I need to keep my mouth shut, but it's just, but yeah, excited for our team, excited for the crowd, happy for the core. You know, the crowd played a big role in the game, as long as they keep cheering for our.
Tough weekend.
Wow. Was that an as long as they keep cheering for our side at the end?
He ends up saying that.
Whoa.
Yo, after he said all that, he says, let me keep my mouth shut, though.
Yeah, right. That's always tough. That's always a tough one. When you say all that and then try to stop, you know?
Oh, my gosh, man.
Is that like talking for 10 minutes and then saying, no, I'm not one to gossip, so I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to leave. I don't know what kind of place this is. Was that what I heard him say?
Skip.
Whoa. All right, so there's multiple parts here, Zay.
That's beautiful.
These are my people. This is my coach, so we got to discuss this. So on both sides of it, I would tell everybody that everybody kind of knows what they're signing up for. If you're going to be the coach at A&M, you know you're signing up for a little bit of a different brand of vodka. I get that. But on the side of the Aggie fans, I would ask y'all, if you're going to go to Olson and you're going to be A&M baseball fans, don't you have to be A&M baseball fans? Don't you have to lean into the bubbles and the cult and the mind control and be who you are? You're going after your guys during a series with Portland early in the season? I'm not saying you have to yell at them that they're playing well if they're clearly not playing well. But you went at them, somebody did. You went at them enough that the coach reacted. So that's on the fan side. I get that there's going to be some Aggies saying, well, he's not one of our guys. This is a guy that was at TCU. Is he really blah, 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 whatever. But he's a badass baseball coach, and that's why they brought him in. And he just came in thinking you were something, and now he's telling you might be something else. I would just tell the fans to take a closer look here. This, just like here in Austin, that's supposed to be a special version of the fan base where you are extra focused on things because baseball is such a detailed sport. That's not what I'd want either. If I'm Schlossnagle and I got a team dragging through a Portland series, the last thing I think I need to deal with is my fans. Somebody in maroon, somebody rocking the ATM is doing that to my guys. It's bad enough we can't get through Portland. Let me deal with that, though. Please don't get on my players during the game.
I don't know what kind of place this is. Might be the greatest thing I've ever heard a coach say.
That's rough.
That's brutal.
That's a rough moment because I do know what kind of place that's supposed to be, and it's supposed to be one of the toughest environments for anybody to go into, and they're nuts, and they're crazy, and they are 100% behind their team, and they'll make it hell on your team going in there. But that's not what it's supposed to be. So they need to take a second look. They do. The Olsen crazies, the bubble folks, whatever they're calling them these days, got to take a double check. You can't have that. You cannot have your head coach, a respected head coach, saying that after the game. You got SEC series later on, man. You got LSU coming in for 3 games.
Yeah. The Arkansas, Vanderbilts, Mississippi States, all those guys. You got to face them.
Yeah, that's crazy. I heard a little bit of this today. Somebody texted me, hey, Chad, what's up with your coach getting on your Aggie fans? I had not heard what happened, but that's rough. That's a rough version. That's bad look.
It's a very bad look. Do you think he's going to have to apologize, though? Because I don't know what kind of place this is. I mean, we do down here.
Now, ultimately, here's the thing. Ultimately, does he need to probably back off of it a little bit? I guess maybe, because you can play they paid their money and they're the students and it's their team and blah, blah, blah. You can do all that if you really want to, because you certainly don't want to have it where you're telling fans not to come to the games or something like that. So does he need to back off a little bit? Maybe, but I don't know. From the first blush look, I'm going to lean towards the coach here. I'm going to lean towards the coach. If I was with a dude, a guy or girl, I'm going to assume it was a guy, but whatever. If I'm in with an Aggie that starts going after our guys like that at a game, that's where I would just remind him, you're being every other fan base right now. You gripe about other fan bases and you say we're different. You're being exactly like the rest of them right now. That's what you're doing. Because Aggies do all the little specialized stuff. They don't boo or they do this. They don't do this. They try to get all the little special stuff. But you just become any other fan base. You become, let me try to think of a good one. You become, I was going to say Philly in the pros, but you become like a Ohio State at that point. Where when it gets bad, Michigan or whatever, that you will even go after your guys. You're supposed to be on a different level than that. And obviously you're not. And I think he's reminding you of that.
In baseball, though, the season just started.
Right.
The season just started.
It's brand new. And they went to Omaha last year. Like, they went to Omaha. They had some win. They beat Texas. They sent Texas home. Like, calm down. Take a breath. Blow a bubble, would you? Please.
Yeah, I know what kind of place you're at. You obviously know your 2 years being there. It's a crappy place.
How dare you?
Win or lose, it's a crappy place.
You think Schlossnagle knows?
Yes, he knows.
Not a fan now?
Yeah, he knows. He's tired of that lanes.
Oh, my God.
There's only so much lanes you could have.
Hey, how dare you?
There's only so much lanes you could have, Coach.
If you're going to be, if you're going to be besmirching lanes, we got a whole different conversation here. The man's just trying to get the fans to do the right thing. You don't need to get on lanes. What are you doing?
Who was the lady holding the sign? What did the sign say?
I have no idea.
Trashing the team?
I have no idea. They brought a sign that ripped the
You're
team?
wearing the maroon and you're bringing a sign to trash the team.
I didn't see that. You can't do that either.
That's what the skip said.
You can't be doing that. I didn't see him say that. I thought he was saying somebody was getting on his team. I thought he meant.
Are we
verbally.
talking about their signs?
I thought he meant verbally somebody was getting on. I didn't hear anybody about bringing like rude signs to the game. That'd be.
Let's hear it one more time. We got time. Let's hear it one more time.
Tough weekend, but staying into the last inning.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in him. I've been telling him the whole time. You know, I believe in him. So it's just this is a tough game, man. People, I got our own fans yelling at our players over the dugout. Like, I don't know what kind of place this is, but I thought there was some Aggie loyalty around here. You know, got a dude holding up a freaking newspaper, one of the dance teams over on the other side. Like, I don't know. I need to keep my mouth shut, but it's just, okay. But yeah, I'm excited for our team.
Okay, so that's not a sign. He's saying holding up a newspaper, because holding up the newspaper is like a sign of disrespect. You're supposed to do that when the other team's getting announced and stuff like that. So if he's saying there's an Aggie fan holding up a newspaper to something that is Aggie, that would not make sense to him. What?
Beautiful. Zero Aggie loyalty, Jim. There's zero Aggie loyalty, as you can see.
My Lord.
This is what you're dealing with. This is why you took that pay raise and that upgrade. You thought it was going to be all sunny and nice. It ain't. It's College Station.
He thought he was coming to the cult. He's not getting as much cult as he thought.
I love it. That made my day.
That's a weird rarity when you get into that. Excuse me. I thought I was joining the cult. I'm not really seeing enough usage of the snakes or drinking of the potions. What's happening? They're acting like a normal hunk of fan base here. What are we doing?
Oh, beautiful.
That is bizarre. All right, there you go. Yeah, Longhorn fans are going to eat that one up for a good day or so. We'll see how the Aggie baseball team reacts to that. Few games for each, and then they will be in College Station, Texas and Texas A&M at the end of this month. All right, coming up, Chip Brown, horns247.com, talking more Longhorn stuff, including how he feels like DeMarvion Overshown will do tomorrow at the Combine. Coming up on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, let's get going with hour number 3 on a Wednesday. Welcome to March. A lot of stuff on the board today. I'm Chad Hastings. He is Isaiah Collier. He picks the beat out for you to start the 3 o'clock hour. I should say 3 o'clock. Third hour, 2 o'clock hour. What do you got, Zay?
Lloyd Banks on fire, instrumental. G-Unit.
Lloyd Banks. Okay.
Yeah, part 50 Cent's crew back in the day.
I was going to say G-Unit is 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Yes. Not Eminem.
No.
That's D12.
That's shady D12.
D12,
yeah.
that's different. Okay,
There you go.
Got to keep it all straight. All right, tomorrow about this time, we'll get into that album swap discussion. Zay's got to break down a Janelle Monáe record. I'm breaking down another Wu-Tang album, specifically the Raekwon album from 95. We'll get into that tomorrow. Right now, we got to get into some Longhorn stuff on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. It is our weekly visit with Chip Brown of horns247.com. Check out the flagship podcast. Check out the Morning Brew article each and every day. He's at Chip Brown 247 on Twitter as well. Chip, what's going on, man?
What's going on, fellas?
What up, Chip?
Man, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I wanted to get your thoughts on some combine stuff here. Obviously, the bigger combine story in the last day or so becomes Jalen Carter and some of his legal issues he's now dealing with and how that could affect the draft. But tomorrow starts with Longhorns on the D-line and linebacker group. And I wanted to get your thoughts on Overshown. I know he was asked already this week about safety versus linebacker and where he feels like he can fit in. You watched his entire career and obviously covered him. How do you think that transition goes for DeMarvion? Do you think there's a place for him in this NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I think, he wanted to be seen as a hybrid like the Simmons kid out of Clemson. And he should test off the charts from a, speed and agility standpoint. And he's a guy who with a good day of testing could come out of the combine as a stock riser. Because when you watch the film, the guy would throw his body around. He, great lateral quickness, all the things that you're looking for. And he's pretty durable. So, I think he has a chance to open some eyes. Obviously, Texas has not been on the prominent national stage. They're not a team that, was playing in the college football playoff. So and at times, Texas has been frustrating to watch. But DeMarvion Overshown, considering how many different coaches he had, is a guy who I think's best football could be ahead of him.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Chip, on y'all's flagship podcast, you and Taylor do such a good job, but, you're talking about the spring football overload and what's going on spring football. And, you look at somebody like Brennan Thompson, who's about to run track, and it's just obvious that he could get left behind with how deep the wide receiver room is. But what's going on right now, spring football starting, the orange and white games right around the corner. How's it looking for this Horns football team going in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at that receiver room, and there's a lot to, look and see and to be excited about, honestly. I mean, when you talk about adding A.D. Mitchell and Jonte Cook is a early enrollee and is just, one of the best route runners you're going to see coming out of high school, and a guy who, has gotten some comparisons to Xavier Worthy, quite honestly, from a physical speed standpoint, hands. And that's good. That's good. Xavier Worthy needs to be pushed. And then, a guy like Brennan Thompson, I mean, Sarkisian loves speed. So as long as Steve Sarkisian is the coach, he'll, and Brennan Thompson can, pick up what he needs to pick up and develop that relationship with the quarterback, then Steve Sarkisian will find a space for him. Now, Ryan Niblitz coming in, he's not an early enrollee, but he's another 10 flat 100 guy. And so, that room is going to be really fun to watch. And then I think the room right across from them on defense, at corner, with guys like Terrence Brooks, Austin Jordan, Xavion Bryce, Malik Muhammad, the top corner in Texas's recruiting class, is already on campus as an early enrollee. And then, Gavin Holmes, who came in from Wake Forest, that guy is, being talked about the same way that Ryan Watts was being talked about. He's not that tall, but he's an experienced guy who's fearless, who, is going to bring them a junior in terms of experience and presence and competition. So, obviously you went up front, the offensive line is back, the defensive line has to replace Keandre Coburn and Moro Ajomo, but, I'm hearing really good things about Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy and Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins, and Bo Davis, got a lot out of that group last year. A bunch of those guys I just mentioned need to take the same kind of step that Moro Ajomo and Keandre Coburn took last year. If they do, then this defense should be, just as good against the run. The obvious big question is who will replace DeMarvion Overshown at weak side linebacker, and I'm hearing that it's going to be, Anthony Hill getting the first chance. Now, David Benda is a veteran at that spot, and Anthony Hill's a freak at that spot. So that's going to kind of be the one of the better position battles to watch. Experience versus, a guy who's a freak athletically who wants to be great, and how quickly can he get there?
Yeah, it'd be a heck of a story if that freshman could come in here and make noise that quickly. Talking to Chip Brown, horns247.com. Chip, talk to me a little bit about Quinn Ewers. Obviously, that'll be a big focus for Texas fans as well. They know about the haircut. What else do they need to know? What are you hearing about Quinn and taking that next step and making those adjustments from last year to get it all to come together?
Yeah, well, I think the first part is that you like the accountability that he took at the Alamo Bowl when he talked about how after the Oklahoma game, he kind of felt like he had it figured out. And then, after the Oklahoma State game, he realized how much more he needed to learn. And, it starts there. You got to admit that what you don't know so that you can go learn it. And I hear he's, got confidence, because I think he did suffer a confidence loss last year, and he started to get it back in the Alamo Bowl. The two deep balls to Xavier Worthy in the second half were dimes, and now he's got Arch Manning in there pushing him. Malik Murphy is healthy and pushing him. So, that's what you need. You need every position room needs to have that fire in there, where if I don't put in every little thing, every little bit of study, and do all the little things to stay ahead, I could be replaced. And that's where Steve Sarkisian's starting to get with each position room. And that's why I think Texas is going to be the team picked to win the Big 12 in 2023.
Chip, you're kind of seeing around, media right now. Yesterday, kind of learned from the A&M athletic director that the SEC can maintain an 8-game conference schedule that just only allows one permanent rival. And that's, just a proposed model getting thrown out there. But meaning for Texas, when they move to the SEC, that will be Oklahoma, and you might not get to play A&M every year, which I know Texas fans will have a hard time dealing with going to the SEC and A&M already being there. What do you think about that, other than like the 9-game model that's been proposed too?
That tells me that there's disharmony, among the schools about the strength of the 3 permanent opponents. And if some schools are feeling like others are getting over easy, I know Texas favors the 9-game schedule because that way you can build in your for Chris Del Conte, because he's got the neutral site game with Oklahoma, 5 home games one year, 4 home games the next. It's easier to sell his season ticket package that way, and it's better for fans. And it gets rid of that powder puff game that the SEC, throws in there before their rivalry week. But the SEC is arrogant enough to, some schools to say, well, we beat up on each other. We don't need to beat up on each other any more than we already do. And the fact that the Big Ten's going to 9, Big 12's at 9, Pac-12's at 9, it's time to move to a 9-game conference schedule. But if that's the case, if there really is this sort of, well, we all can't agree, so we'll just, go to our one, permanent opponent, that to me is a bit of a black eye for the SEC in terms of, strength of schedule, all that. But again, there's going to be the top half of that conference that says we beat up on each other enough. So it's fascinating because I thought they were leaning, more toward the 9-game, and now you're, hearing some waffling or whatever. They're floating balloons out there to see who, see what the reaction is. But I think it would be a step back if they come off the 9-game conference schedule.
Yeah, Chip, as always, you're being a pro. It would be pathetic if they did that. It would be so pathetic. If they forced a guy like Chris Del Conte not to lose the number of, HCU or Lamar or whoever it is they would have to call up, that would be really sad. I just, to add Oklahoma and Texas add Texas and Oklahoma to that conference and then stay with the November pillow, it's silly. I mean, I'm with you, Chip. That's the thing from outside, you covering the Big 12 as you have for years and before that other conferences. That's what people see when they look into the SEC in November. And I can't stand it. And I don't want that for my team, but I definitely don't want it for Texas and Oklahoma entering that conference. So I like that. The last thing you say, I hope it's just a test. I hope they're just testing to see what the reaction is.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about going to a 12-team playoff was, okay, you can be a 2-loss SEC team and still make the playoff. You expand the playoff field so that you can absorb a loss or 2. Yeah. You don't have to be undefeated or a 1-loss team coming out of the SEC to make the playoffs. And so, that's the argument. Okay, go to a 9-game schedule. The playoff's going to be expanded. You can absorb a loss or 2 and still make the playoff. And to not, take that direction, to me just looks like they can't figure it out. I mean, Greg Sankey's supposed to be this, guru who runs the show. If they end up with an 8-game conference schedule, that tells me Greg Sankey was getting rockets from, the power, schools in that conference saying, we need our pillow fight in November.
Yeah.
And our 3 common opponents are way harder than that school's 3 common opponents, which we all know is cyclical. So it's, I mean, this would be a blow.
Yeah, hopefully it would. Yeah, hopefully they'll go away from that. The other thing I think will be really hard is if you just try to make one for every team, you're never going to make people happy doing that. Just go ahead and try. Just take Bama, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, Florida, and then tell me who their one team is for sure. There's no way you're not going to piss somebody off. And Texas and Oklahoma should be the ultimate one, but then you're leaving the Aggies and Arkansas out. and you probably should have them in there. So hopefully they'll get that figured out. And they've said, by the way, coming up by April or so, we may know kind of how they're going to do it. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Obviously, check horns247.com for all the very latest. Chip, before we let you go, give me a thought on tonight in Fort Worth. Other than that god-awful floor, what do you think we're going to see tonight? Do you think Texas will step up and get a win?
I mean, they need to play like they played in the second half of that K-State game. For 40 minutes. I mean, the conference championship is on the line tonight. It's not on the line Saturday. It can be on the line Saturday if they handle business tonight. I expect to see unbelievable energy. Guys like Christian Bishop, Dylan Dizu has been really good lately, and Christian Bishop needs to bring it, and Jabari Rice needs to, go off. I mean, this is a call to arms. Tonight is the playoff. So I expect to see a great game tonight. I think TCU is confident. I think this is going to be a fantastic game.
I hope you are right. That's Chip Brown, horns247.com, the flagship podcast, The Morning Brew, and, of course, at Chip Brown 247 on Twitter if you want to give him a follow. Chip, we always appreciate it, man. Enjoy that game. Enjoy all the other stuff this week, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, fellas.
Thanks, Chip.
Good stuff. And unfortunately, and to talk about that SEC stuff, that doesn't feel like it's headed in a good direction, but at least glad to get the update from Chip. Hopefully, Greg Sankey and the crew are not really considering going that way, because that'd be a huge backward move. One of the first quotes he had, Zay, about it was, we'll figure it out in 3 months or so. And then he started rattling off rivalry games he wanted to have. And one of the first things he said was Texas and Texas A&M. Like, come on, dude.
It's a joke. Like, I'm with you. It's pathetic. It's a disgrace. Like, I get it. Some teams aren't going to be happy, but those are the schools that probably aren't bringing in money like Texas and Oklahoma.
Right.
So, y'all go to the end of the line and wait your turn. And once we figure all this out, we play who we want to play, then y'all can get the scraps and we'll figure that out later. But, yeah, just Auburn playing Alabama every year. That's it for Alabama? You're telling me you're going to be good with that? Well, hell no.
Are people deep down, are old folks in Knoxville going to be happy with that? They play every year. Alabama and Tennessee play every year. There are lots of games like that in the SEC. I've been talking about them for years now. Go tell the Georgia and Auburn people they don't get to play anymore.
Yeah.
Go try that. See what happens. That's the oldest one in that conference in the South. And they like that. They are kind of proud of it. They're kind of proud of that game. And then go talk to LSU fans. Make them pick one.
Right.
Go ahead. Make LSU fans pick one game and see what they do. Are they going to say Bama? Are they going to say Auburn? Are they going to say Arkansas? They got multiple. They got multiple games. I'm assuming they wouldn't say A&M. That's too fresh, but still.
I mean, the 3 might be a lot, but at least 2. Like, I don't really care about playing Arkansas as much as others do.
Look,
that's not one that's if it means not playing A&M, and I definitely don't care about Arkansas. Like, it doesn't have to be 3 for me. I'm good with 2, OU, and them. Good with that.
What about the compromise? What about go instead of 3-6, go 3-5? If they really still want to play the 8 conference games and have the garbage game available, fine. But play 3 every year and then just rotate among 5 other teams.
Yeah.
So you'd have to. It'd take you a little while longer to get through them, but who cares? I think that's still the best plan. Hopefully, we'll hear about that coming up in the next month or so. Thanks to Chip for his time. We start March, of course, today, and we'll get you a couple big birthdays. In fact, we have another member of this group hitting a big milestone birthday. We'll start there and see where it goes. Hope you're having a good start to March right here on The Horn.